And said goodbye to this 22-year-old Tampa man today. He was a passenger in this crash last weekend. Troopers say the woman behind the wheel was his cousin, Jennifer Carvajal. And
she made a hard right there, causing her car to go airborne and then crashing through an FDOT fence.
It has been devastating for me and my family to think about what it would be like to still have him here.
And this isn't her first fatal DUI crash. When Carvajal, then 17, was convicted of DUI manslaughter after she collided into Keith Allen Davis.
She has now committed 2 acts of DUI and taken 2 people's lives while doing it.
Jennifer Carvajal had been given a second chance at life, but on a cold April night in 2021, that chance slipped through her fingers. In a moment, 2 families were left to pick up the pieces. A night filled with laughter, choices, and shattered trust would end in tragedy. One that no one saw coming, but would haunt everyone forever. This wasn't Jennifer Carvajal's first brush with deadly consequences behind the wheel. In fact, she had already taken a life years earlier. Born and raised in Florida, Carvajal faced a tumultuous upbringing marked by instability and trauma. Court records and defense attorneys described a childhood riddled with neglect and abuse. She entered foster care at a young age, and at the age of 9, she was diagnosed with a sexually transmitted disease, which revealed years of sexual abuse by male relatives. Diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder and depression, she struggled deeply with self-worth, addiction, and self-harm. By age 11, she was caught drinking beer at school. Alcohol became her way of coping with the pain that followed her throughout adolescence. In 2014, when Carvajal was just 16, she got behind the wheel of a car after drinking. That decision led to a fatal crash in Plant City, where she killed 52-year-old Keith Allen Davis, a newspaper delivery driver. She was tried as an adult and sentenced to 5 years in prison for DUI manslaughter. She served 4 years. After her release in 2019, she was placed on probation and tried to rebuild her life. She reconnected with family, including her cousin Pedro Carvajal, and appeared to be attempting a fresh start. But despite the surface-level progress, Jennifer's internal struggles only deepened. By early 2021, those closest to her began noticing red flags. She was drinking heavily again and reconnecting with old habits. According to witnesses, she used alcohol to numb the emotional pain she never confronted. She hadn't fully escaped the trauma of her childhood or the guilt of her past. On the evening of April 24, 2021, Jennifer Carvajal, her cousin Pedro Carvajal, his girlfriend Lexia Gonzalez, and another cousin, Grady Ramirez, gathered at Pedro's grandfather's home in Plant City. It was a casual family gathering, filled with conversation and laughter. Later that night, the group left in Gonzalez's silver Hyundai Elantra to continue their night out. Their first stop was the Twilight Zone Lounge, a liquor store where they purchased a bottle of Hennessy. After that, they went to a Circle K convenience store where they bought Polar Pops to mix with the alcohol. According to court testimony, they spent the next several hours driving, hanging out at a Waffle House and drinking heavily, alternating sips between the soda cups and the Hennessy bottle itself. Eventually, they returned to a Circle K for a restroom stop. That's when Jennifer asked Lexia if she could drive. At first, Lexia ignored her, but Jennifer insisted. Reluctantly, the group agreed, perhaps underestimating the risks given their shared intoxication. As they merged onto Interstate 4 toward Ybor City, Lexia noticed something was off. Jennifer struggled to control the car and began speeding, exceeding speeds of over 100 miles per hour. It was a matter of time before tragedy struck. At approximately 1:45 a.m., a Florida Highway Patrol trooper noticed the Hyundai speeding eastbound on I-4 near Plant City. When the trooper activated his lights to initiate a stop, Jennifer panicked. Lexia later testified that Jennifer began yelling, "I don't want to go back to jail." In a desperate attempt to flee, Jennifer swerved hard onto the shoulder. The Hyundai flew up an embankment, went airborne, and crashed through a fence into the Gator Ford dealership. It slammed into a Ford pickup, then into a concrete light pole and a palm tree before finally flipping upside down. The crash was devastating. Pedro Carvajal was pinned beneath the wreckage, bleeding from the head. His girlfriend, Lexia, had both her thighs broken. Grady Ramirez was ejected and severely injured. Jennifer, wearing her seatbelt, was the only one with minor injuries. All occupants were rushed to Tampa General Hospital. Pedro succumbed to his injuries there around 1 p.m. that day. The crash not only claimed a life, but also set in motion a heartbreaking journey of grief and consequences. First responders arrived quickly. A road ranger heard Jennifer say, "I'm on papers. I have a curfew. I'm not even supposed to be driving." When troopers arrived, they noted bruising on her shoulder consistent with seatbelt use in the driver's seat. None of the others had used seatbelts. In a horrifying twist, Jennifer attempted to shift the blame. She told Lexia to tell them you were driving. She also called Pedro's sister hours later and asked her to convince others to say she wasn't the driver. At Tampa General Hospital, a trooper assigned to guard Jennifer noticed a strong odor of alcohol in her room. Blood tests later revealed her blood alcohol content to be between 0.10 and 0.14, above the legal limit of 0.08. The news of the crash shattered the victim's family. Pedro's mother, Yasmin Lopez Dominguez, delivered an emotional victim impact statement in court. Her words were carried in court transcripts and news reports. "There is a void in my heart," she said. "The decision Jennifer made in that moment caused a lot of pain and suffering in our lives, and for Pedro's son, Julian, who is growing up without knowing his father." Family members also remembered Pedro as a loyal friend, a diligent worker, and a devoted dad. At a pretrial hearing in Tampa, prosecutors warned that Carvajal was a clear danger to society. Assistant State Attorney Stephanie Pizarro filed a motion for pretrial detention, arguing that Carvajal should remain in custody due to it being her second fatal crash. During the hearing, the judge took note of Pedro's mother, Yasmin Dominguez, who was present in the virtual meeting. Ultimately, the judge agreed with the prosecution and ordered Carvajal held without bond. She faced charges including DUI manslaughter, vehicular homicide, and violation of probation.
And so we were here on the one count of DUI manslaughter. The others all already have bonds and pretrial release conditions, correct?
That's my understanding looking at the records, Your Honor.
All right. So Ms. Carvajal, then based upon that stipulation on the one count of DUI manslaughter that still did not have a bond on it, I'm going to grant the state's motion for pretrial detention and hold you without bond on that one count.
Additionally, it had come to Pizarro's attention that Jennifer attempted to contact members of Pedro's family.
Judge, it has come to the state's attention that this defendant, both directly and indirectly, has made attempts to reach out to the victims in this case and the family of the deceased victim in this case. The state is requesting that the defendant be ordered not to make contact with either of the two living victims. That's Lexia Gonzalez, Lexcia Gonzalez, or Grady, Grady Ramirez, or their family for purposes of contacting them.
That would absolutely be granted.
By early 2025, the case moved into the courts. Prosecutors assembled the evidence, dashcam video, accident reconstructions, and witness testimony. They offered a plea deal of 50 years in prison if Carvajal would plead guilty to all charges. Carvajal's attorneys countered, but in February 2025, she ultimately entered guilty pleas to DUI manslaughter, vehicular homicide, and related counts, forgoing a full trial. The final chapter of the legal saga came on May 30th, 2025, in Tampa's George Edgecombe Courthouse. By then, 28 years old, Carvajal was brought before Circuit Judge Greg Green for sentencing. The courtroom was packed with both sides of the family, Carvajal's relatives and the loved ones of the victims. Carvajal sat at the defense table in an orange jail jumpsuit with her head bowed. When given the chance to speak, she addressed the judge and the families quietly.
And no matter how many sorries I say to each of you, or even him, I could never forgive myself.
Judge Green delivered a scathing rebuke. He reminded Carvajal that at the time of the crash, she was on probation for causing a different crash that killed someone.
She has now committed 2 acts of DUI and taken 2 people's lives while doing it.
Citing the severity and premeditation of her actions, the judge imposed a prison term far above what prosecutors had asked for. Carvajal was sentenced to 67 years behind bars, with no possibility of meaningful parole before she is in her 80s. The term was roughly double the 33 years the state had requested. The sentence left Carvajal visibly shaken. Several reports mention that she wept as the judge pronounced judgment. This was Jennifer Carvajal's second deadly crash. 2 lives lost, dozens of others forever changed, and perhaps the most painful truth is knowing it all could have been avoided. Jennifer had a second chance, freedom, family, and the opportunity to change course. But untreated pain, addiction, and reckless choices turned that chance into tragedy. Thank you for watching Fatal Impact. Please like, subscribe, and click the notification bell for more in-depth reports on the issues shaping our world. Stay informed and drive safely.